In this short video, we're going to look at a molecular explanation for why some acids are stronger than other acids. And then once we know that, it's easy to interpret which bases are going to be stronger and why, because they're just kind of reciprocals of each other. The stronger the acid, the weaker the base. The first type of acids we're going to look at is binary acids. The general formula for this is HX, where X is some nonmetal that isn't H. A trend is that acid strength increases as you go down a group. Here's an example using the halogens. HF, Ka is 3.5 times 10 to the minus 4. But then when you get down to HCl and HBr and HI, their Kas are very, very large. So the acid strength is increasing as you go down a group. You can see by the value of Ka. The reason for this is because shorter bonds are stronger bonds. And if you look at the sizes of all of these nonmetals, fluorine is by far the smallest of them. And so that short bond puts the electron pair much closer to the two nuclei. The internuclear distance is pretty small, so that makes the bond stronger. It's much less likely to lose that proton than the other acids are. For binary acids, acid strength increases as you go across a period, but for a different reason. Looking at some examples, this is all from the second period. NH3 is actually a base. It's a very weak acid. In fact, it's a base, generally considered a base. Water, Ka is 1 times 10 to the minus 14th. Of course, this is an acid and a base. That's a pretty small value for Ka. HF is 3.5 times 10 to the minus 4, which is much stronger of an acid. If we look at the molecular structure, we can get an explanation for why this is true. The general reaction that's going to happen between this binary acid HX and water to produce hydronium ion and then the anion is going to involve this hydrogen leaving and attaching to one of the lone pairs on the oxygen. The more electronegative the X is, the nonmetal that isn't hydrogen, the less the share of the electron pair in that acid hydrogen can get for itself. And so the more likely it is to leave and find a better share of electrons in the water. The next type of acid we're going to start looking at is oxyacids or oxoacids. Oxyacids have somewhere in their structure a chain of hydrogen attached to oxygen attached to some other nonmetal. If two oxyacids have the same number of oxygen atoms, then the one that has the more electronegative X in that chain is going to be the stronger acid. Example, H2SO4 is one of our strong acids. Ka is very large. H2SeO4 has a Ka of 10 to the minus third, which is pretty large Ka, but nowhere near as large as for H2SO4. Once again, we can get some indication of what's going on by looking at the Lewis structure version of the ionization reaction. So when we say that a covalent bond is two atoms sharing electrons, that's not an incorrect statement, but in polar bonds, it's maybe more descriptive to say that they are fighting over the electrons. So if you look at this electron pair here, the oxygen and the nonmetal X are fighting over that pair of electrons. The more electronegative that X is, the more of the share of those two electrons it can pull towards itself. Oxygen then starts fighting over this pair of electrons more strongly than it otherwise would. And so that makes it a better deal for this hydrogen to leave and go attach to water and make hydronium. So it's sort of a chain reaction kind of a thing. This electron pair gets pulled towards X, and that causes oxygen to pull that electron pair away from hydrogen. And then hydrogen's like, I'm not getting enough electron share, I'm going to move. The other case that you could have is you have the same X, the same central nonmetal, but one acid has more oxygen atoms than the other one. The one that has the most oxygen atoms is going to be the stronger acid. Examples, HNO3 is one of our strong acids. Ka is very large. HNO2 has a Ka of 4 times 10 to the minus 4, and it has one less oxygen. Like in the previous examples, looking at a Lewis structure version of the ionization reaction can give us some clues as to why this would be. Think about this central nonmetal here, surrounded by two O's, and then one of them is the HOX chain. this oxygen's more electronegative than almost anything. So this oxygen is going to strongly pull on this electron pair and rob some share away from that central X. Then that's going to cause that central X to pull electron share away from this oxygen, and then that's going to cause this oxygen to pull electrons share away from that hydrogen. Now if we look at one that has more O's, this X is now fighting with 3 oxygens instead of just 2 for electron share. So this electron pair is going to get pulled towards this oxygen. This one's going to get pulled toward that oxygen. That's going to cause this central X to be a little bit more greedy for the electrons that it's sharing with that oxygen, and then that's going to in turn cause the oxygen to withdraw electron share away from that hydrogen more in this compound than in this compound. So the more oxygens there are, the more the electron share is drawn away from that central nonmetal. So then that central nonmetal, in turn, pulls more electron share away from the XOH chain. So that means the hydrogen is going to have less electron share, and that makes it a better deal for hydrogen to leave and go find electron share from the oxygen in the water molecule.